Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Dr. Gail, and this is Mark. And we're going
Hi,
to
everyone.
talk about Mark's experiences. He is in Australia, and it's, 8 o'clock in the morning for you?
8 o'clock Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, 8 o'clock Saturday morning. So he's our future.
Something like that. Everything's happening at once, so it's all good.
That's exactly right. Everything's happening. Let's see who's here. Hi, Susie 007. Hi, Tina. Let's see. Oh, there goes my cat again. Hey, Incar. Let's see. Hey, Gina. Thanks for being here. Hey, Mandy May. Hey, Vivienne. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Galactic Fire T-shirts. Waiting for that website. She's made some great T-shirts. Everybody, you want to take down her website. If you do want to write down your website to compete, whenever everybody's ready to see your T-shirts or you got it ready, go ahead and let us know. Let's see who else. Hey, Incar. Hey, let's see who else is there. June 31. Hey, June 31. Hey, Kathleen. Let's see who else we have. Hey, Strawberry Rhubarb Tarot, a fan from Canada. There you go. Hey, Chris MK. Hey, Janet, Rainbows and Moonbeams. Hey, Emmy J. Hey, Teresa. Let's see who else we got here. Oh my gosh, my chat is sticking around. Hey, G. Covington. Hey, Son of What. Hey, Starfish. You made another one. Yay, Starfish. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. While we're getting people are coming and joining us, I'm going to let you know about our next two shows, which is going to be Tuesday. That is going to be Diana Bowles. We'll be doing all about aliens and astrology. She'll be telling us what's coming up this month. And that'll be at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Pacific Time. Also, Wednesday, we'll be doing, on the 7th, on Wednesday, we'll be doing our Solaris Healing. And that will be 1 o'clock Pacific Time and 4 o'clock Eastern Time. So now, Mark, are you ready?
I'm here.
He says, I've been ready. He was in here before I was. He was waiting on me. Usually that's tough to do for me not to do. So tell us a little bit about you. We know you're in Australia. Just some personal information before we get into all your experiences.
Sure. You mean experience starting off with alien stuff, or
you start off with whatever you want to real personally, like you live in Australia and and that just little tidbits while everybody's coming in and joining us.
Okie doke, yeah, no worries. Live in Australia. Have had a number of experiences over a long period of time, probably 5 decades at least. Have had some direct experience of being on board ships and things like that, which we can talk about later on. Had contact.
Yeah. Well, then why don't we just go ahead and start off if you want to do that and go, what is your earliest recollection of having ET contact?
Well, the first ones that I remember were the small greys. As a child, I would go to bed and as I was going off to sleep, sometimes I would feel them around the bed and sometimes even see their images. And they were the typical little smallish Zeta type greys. They had the thin arms and legs, the large luminous eyes that were sort of almond shaped, and quite a large head. But as a child, I didn't really know, and this is going back to the 60s and 70s. There wasn't the internet. There wasn't a lot of imagery out there. A few people probably knew about Roswell because that was an interesting sort of UFO story, but there wasn't much out there for me to reference these experiences with. But that's how I remembered seeing them. And what would happen is they'd come around my bed and observe me, and they would turn up, but they would wait until I reached a certain point of falling asleep. There's something about as we go off to sleep, our vibration changes slightly. We're in a vibration, and they use that as an entry point to come into our experience. And so, but sometimes I would wake up and notice them or feel them there, and sort of feel a bit of panic and sort of try to fight or flight response, try and jump up and get away from it because of what's going on here. And they would just there'd be like a wave of it would hit me and just freeze me. It was like the sleep paralysis thing that you hear about. and I'd be frozen there, and then I would instantly lose consciousness. Then I would regain consciousness and have a strong sense that a period of time had passed by, and that events had happened that I wasn't able to access, but that my memory had been wiped to some degree.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you just for a minute. Do you know
Sure.
why they create the sleep paralysis?
Um,
well, it's because they're much smaller, spindlier, and we can harm them. And we go into the fight or flight. And Preston Dennett has written some books about how we do punch them, kick them, those kind of things, and they are much more vulnerable than we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned much later that the interactions that we have with any ET beings and all of our experiences in life, it's all been pre-planned, and allowances have been made. When we connect with like the grey beings, it's done through our higher self, so we're able to actually to have that connection with them. It's allowed, so to speak, in that we come here to incarnate, to have a life theme, and it may or may not include this kind of activity with ET beings on a conscious level. On a subconscious level, or on a higher vibrational level, we may be having a lot of experiences that we don't remember when we're actually here in the physical body.
Okay. Well, is there anything more you want to say about that? Let's say I'm reading the email that you sent me.
Oh yeah.
See if I can catch up with that. I said, but when you were doing the fight or flight and you were gone, and they did put you out, you don't remember anything after that. You just remember waking up the next morning and here you were back in your bed.
Yeah. Well, not even necessarily the next morning. I just it may be that, in that same evening, waking up and finding myself losing that consciousness and coming back and knowing that something has happened. What I now understand is that people have different, so to speak, contracts or agreements to participate in activities when we're in the astral state, or the dream states, going into the astral plane, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the Greys particularly were involved in the hybridization programs, where they would blend human DNA with their own DNA in an attempt to a successful attempt, by the way, to create hybrid races, and to allow the.
Is that what they were doing with you? Do you think, or do you know why they were taking?
Yes. What happens? It's sort of it's a little complicated. I'm stumbling a bit because it's just so big. But
It's big.
Yeah. Look, basically, what happened with the Greys was they came from another matrix. They weren't originally part of our matrix, but they made some serious mistakes in relation to handling their own genetics and also the planet they were on, and they effectively made it uninhabitable, and they had to leave there. They also, through genetic damage, sadly, they lost the ability to procreate in the way that we would expect it to happen, and it had to be done in a more of a laboratory type setting. But what they needed to do was correct the problems that they were having with their own genetics, and the way that when they left their own matrix and came through into ours, they needed to find beings that were of a genetic match, so that they could actually sample the genetic material from those beings and blend that with their own and create a hybrid race. So not a pure Zeta race, but they were originally human-like beings in the first place anyway. And their goal now.
They were looking for a huskier species too.
Yeah, well, yeah, comparatively. I mean, we're a lot bigger than the Greys, but we're a lot smaller than the reptilians. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
but that's what the Greys were looking for, is a compatibility, but they did want something huskier, so they weren't as spindly, so little.
Yeah, that's true.
But
and the thing is that.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say what they look for and what they have contracted for is to work with firstly with people who are incarnating spirits or entities, which we are, incarnating in physical bodies. They're looking for people to work with, and have contracted with people to come in and to make their genetic material available to help the greys. So those of us who are connecting with them in hybrid programs are doing it unknowingly on a conscious level in many cases, but on a higher level of understanding in the idea of the higher self. We're actually working with them to help them correct the problem that they've got, and they can't go back to being what they were in terms of the zetas, but they have to move forward, and their offspring now, which they weren't able to have until they sorted this out, are coming into physical reality as hybrid beings, hybrid humanoid type with the zetas. So that's just one program. I mean, there's reptilian programs as well,
Right.
that I'm aware of.
I want to just talk a little bit more about the greys, because
Sure.
I had an experience with a friend of mine, Meg, which I've all heard about, because she's the one that's helped me on my journey to tell me everything was okay and I was okay. Well, she had a bad experience with the greys at a very young age, where she was rebellious, and they left her on a planet by herself. She got kicked
Wow.
out. And she was
Wow.
on a planet that was, I can't get Meg to come on and talk about her story, so I'm just going to give a little short synopsis of it. Anyway, it was on a planet, and that had man-eating or gray-eating plants on it, and she befriended one of those, and that's how she survived. So she has a real bad, thing about the greys. So one day, a gray came to me, wanted to talk to her, and he asked us to go ahead and study everything we found negative, positive about the greys. And we were studying, but I couldn't look anything up, because at that time they wouldn't allow me to seek out information other than what came from them. But she was, and she found out all about the greys, about the abductions and things like that. And he came to her, well, through me. I brought him to her, and of course she started hyperventilating when he was there. I could see him, but she could feel him.
Wow.
But she said she was going to be okay for him to stay. And so he told her that they were not here anymore, those greys, and that they considered that time when they were doing abductions a dark time in the gray history, just like we have the dark times of slavery and Hitler and things like that. So they do feel bad about it, but they were emotionless at that time, and that they didn't understand how it was affecting us. So, but they aren't here anymore. They have gone. In fact, I had that verified when Dolly Saffron was here, because she works with the greys, and she said they weren't in this universe. Well, not in this universe, but on around Earth anymore. They don't come to this atmosphere. So they're not here anymore. It's just the hybrids that we're dealing with. And they do feel really bad about what they were doing and how they were scaring people. And so there you go. That's my story.
No, that's very much the case, I believe. They're essentially, as I said earlier, they've created some problems for themselves, and this is the way that they've decided to go in resolving those problems. And many humans have contracted to work with them, and simply by providing our DNA of our own free will. It happens as I said, on a level of agreement that's up in the soul level. So we may not be consciously aware that we've agreed to it. In the same way, when we come into this incarnation, we experience the illusion of separation from source. We've contracted or agreed to do that because we want to have that spirit experience for the benefit of our soul. But the thing they're looking for when they were selecting people, I mean, I'm 63 now, and the stuff I'm talking about is decades old. And I can understand people saying that phase of the program is, or a phase of the program has come to an end, and the Zetas have left.
Yeah, the gray hybrids are the one that's taken over that program. And it's more in a volunteer. Yeah.
And so what they look for in people who they work with is genetic predisposition or traits that they would like to see replicated in people. And so they'll take genetic material and isolate those traits. I don't know the mechanics of it, but or biomechanics of it, but that's what they do, and they blend it with their own. And then the hybrid children are born with that. And one of the things that is really impressive is that, like, we're living here in a third to fourth dimension, third transitioning to fourth dimensional reality. But I have one hybrid child. His name's Toe, and I've only ever spoken to him once, and it was
Tub or Todd. What was his name? Oh, you're frozen. Oh no, Mark. He's frozen. But he's still there. Hopefully he'll come back in just a minute because I didn't get the name of his son. But
Oh, it's back.
and there
Sorry, I
goes
lost everything. The back. Yeah. So he's living in a fifth dimensional reality. So he's got in a sense he's got a third dimensional father, and he's fifth dimensional because of the genetic material that was taken from me to help produce him. Has been activated. Human DNA is a very admired thing in the world of ETs because we have a great multidimensional capacity by virtue of the fact that our own DNA going back millions and millions of years when we were evolving, ET races were involved in that, and they kept modifying our DNA and adding their own DNA to it. And we have DNA from beings from the sixth dimension, the fifth dimension, fourth dimension, all that genetic materials running around in our veins, so to speak. But it's not necessarily.
What does he look like?
I didn't actually. I spoke to him, but I didn't actually
didn't see him.
Get a strong image. I sometimes when you come back from these experiences, you bring back what's in certain points that are important at the time, but you don't recall what wasn't necessary for you to know, because you can get overloaded with the stuff. And so a lot of the time it's more like energetic impressions than actual physical sighting. But I have some of the other things that might be of interest to people. We all have, I'm sure everyone's aware, many incarnations, and they're not always human. And in my own case, I can remember one time I was in the through the lucid dream state. I traveled into another reality, and I saw a reptilian standing on a battlement on a wall, and he was dressed about 7 foot tall. I had no idea what a reptilian was. You know, I knew what reptiles were.
That was my first meeting too. I didn't know what one was.
So this guy's standing there. He's about 7 feet tall, and he looked like a Komodo dragon, like a giant raptor lizard or something, standing on his back legs. He was standing upright, and had a small tail, and he was dressed in leather and metal battle gear, and he was holding something that was like a lance. And I looked at him, and I knew instantly that I was looking at myself. Yeah. What was happening was he was another of my incarnations in a different time. And to sort of get some clarification on that, I did actually go and see a trance channeler who specializes in ETs, and he pointed out that actually I'd had 2 incarnations where I was myself in a reptilian type of incarnation, and this was one of them. And he said he said that I was actually blending the 2 into one. When I was looking at this guy, I didn't know there was 2, but I did know it was myself. And then so that's an ET contact, but with my own self, my own, what I'd created, my own self from the higher self. Another one was a humanoid on a red dwarf planet. I found myself suddenly standing there next to somebody in this planet, and it was all the air and the sky and everything was red, and there was a giant lake or sea, and this being was standing there staring out over the lake, just gazing over the lake. And I slid my energy and I slid into and shared inside the space of the body with him, and together we were looking out through the eyes. And he was another incarnation of myself as well that was not human. So another ET connection there.
Well, what about the spaceships you've been affiliated with?
Yeah. I had before this is. I had it confirmed once again through trance channeling that I was interested in what incarnations cycles I'd been in prior to the Earth incarnation cycle. A lot of people don't realize, but we're involved in other incarnation cycles as well as this one. And I'd been involved in one going back a very, very, very long time in linear terms, where I'd been a humanoid type being, blue skin, and had worked with storing knowledge in that was the thing I was into, was storing knowledge in crystals. And I was in another system, and I was that being. And what we were doing was we were actually I was in a fifth dimensional state, and we were working with third dimensional beings in that galaxy, who are in need of assistance. So we were actually we were to them like the Arcturians and the Pleiadians are to us.
Mm-hmm.
This was in another cycle, but just another example of how our consciousness and our greater self is vast and manifests across reality in all different places and times. We bring back snippets of it when we go and travel astrally, and sometimes we get a very clear picture. Sometimes it's fragments, and we have to put it together, and sometimes relying on some channeled information to which helps to understand things.
So yeah, but let's see, you said of quite a few spaceships that you had been on.
Oh yeah, the ships. Yes, sorry. Okay, yeah, okay. Probably the first one that comes to mind was in relation to I was just talking about working with crystals. I had one experience where I was on a different planet, and I was with a small team. I was team leading for that team, and we were collecting once again surface samples of the minerals and rocks and things on that particular planet. We were working out of a small research vessel, and so we were taking these samples aboard the research vessel and then taking them back, and they were processed when we got back. The craft itself, yeah, it was almost like it was well, just a research vessel. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was just almost like a cigar shaped basic transport ship that had space in it to store this stuff. So that was one example. Another one was I was in the astral state and in a lucid dream state once again, and I found myself transferred straight into a small scout craft, and it was the classic saucer shape this time, and I was strapped in, and we had the pilots up front, and who were humanoid, but not Earth human, and we took off, and we were zipping along only a couple of meters above the ground. We were racing up this long strip of highway, and it was very exhilarating when we were just skimming along very fast. And there were along the sides of this highway there were poles on either side, and there was cables and telecommunication wires, power wires, and all this kind of stuff. And it was because we were so close to the ground, it was above us, and we were just racing along. And I noticed how close this craft was getting to the actual wires and the cables. Every now and then, when the road would narrow a bit, we'd be very, very close. And I thought, if we just clip one of those, we're going to go hurtling down in a ball of flames, and we'll all be killed. And then what happened was, after a while of experiencing this, and so a combination of exhilaration and fear, the pilot turned around to me and gave me a smile and showed me that the actual craft was on autopilot, and there was no danger at all. He wasn't flying it. It just looked like he was flying it, and they'd really cranked it up to give me that experience. So that was fun. And another one was being on what I call something. The thing that would parallel for us would be a giant ocean liner, but it was a spacecraft, and it was essentially a city. I don't have the knowledge of exactly whose craft it was, but I was there, and I arrived there in my when we leave our body to go into these kind of experiences, we transfer into a different vibrational version, which is a light body version. But we also have above that, we have another version that we can travel with, which is just pure consciousness, a ball of light or an orb, if you like. And I was in the orb state, and I was on this ship, and just looking out through these massive windows. I worked out where the front was. It was so huge, but I was up at the front. It was like a giant reception lounging area, lots of seating, cafeteria, the whole thing, and just these windows that were as tall as tall buildings, and they were just opening out into the expanse, and you could see straight through them. They obviously weren't glass; they were something that could withstand whatever happens to spacecraft, whatever they encounter out there in terms of things that might damage the ship, etc. But that was really an amazing experience. It was so big. It was just unbelievably big. It was essentially like a floating planet. And it was just great. I don't know why. I don't know why my consciousness chose to go there, or why my higher self assigned me to go there, but there I was, and in this orb form. A lot of the times, a lot of the experiences, I'm in the other form, which is a light body version.
Yeah, so it's triggering me going, because they always put me in a bubble, and I'm wondering if that bubble is actually an orb. Whenever I was
it is
first, yeah.
That's what we are. Yeah, we're essentially sentient energy. We're conscious. We're aware energy, and all the physicalness that we see around us, that's created out of our consciousness. In the other world,
Well, actually, I saw a non-physical body in there because my dog popped in there at one time. So I wonder if it was like a human-sized orb, and I was actually physically in it. I don't know. I have to ask them that.
Yeah. So so we in my case at least, that's how I travel around. Those are the two primary forms. In terms of where I'm going, and there's me as a human being, I don't have the grand plan of what's going on with all this. I simply get assigned and I go, and that's because I've agreed to go. One thing that can be a sticking point for people who are interested in learning about ETs and the like is it's very important to understand that everything that happens to us, everything that we experience, has been sanctioned by our higher self, and above that our soul, to have these experiences, and we're open to having both positive and negative experiences. We've come here to experience duality, and to experience the illusion of being separated from each other and from God, when we're all actually the one thing. What we need to know is that even when we have a bad experience, we have sovereignty, and we can actually change the type of experiences that we're having. So if someone's, for example, being contacted or feeling the presence or the energy of an ET, and it's uncomfortable, and they don't want that to happen, all they have to do is basically say, I don't resonate with your energy, and I don't want you in my experience. If you want to say, you can say, if they're making you uncomfortable, you possibly say, would you like to go to the light, and direct them in that to do that. So the thing is, we come in and we experience a lot of stuff that's unpleasant, as well as a lot of stuff that's fantastic. We've chosen to experience all that, even though it's very, very hard to understand, with things like the loss of people we love, severe illnesses, accidents, those kind of things. But they're all part of the growth of the soul. And the thing is that when we leave the physical life and we go back into the non-physical, and we do this over and over again, when we go back in there, anything that we've experienced that's been negative or hurtful from a human perspective is energy washed, so to speak, and we become back to our purest form, the truest version of ourself. And for some reason we say, let's do it all again, and we come back again.
I know we keep signing up for Earth. Let me learn this lesson this time. Let me learn this lesson this time. So
yeah.
Have you ever had your starseed astrology chart done?
No, I don't know what that is. Sorry.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say about that, it can tell you all your incarnations on all different planets and wherever you have been. And you've definitely had more than 3 lifetimes as different ETs and things. And
oh yeah.
So it'll map it out. And I'm trying to remember what Anne Marie's YouTube channel name is. I can't remember what it is, but I can remember Ursula's, and she is Ascension Playground, and they do starseed astrology. I had mine done a long time ago, and mine just kept going off the chart on how many places I had been. So, but it would tell you where you actually originally came from. So you might want to check that out. I can email you that information after the show. If anybody else in here who's wanting their find out all about their incarnations and where they've been from, you can get your starseed astrology chart done. And there's actually a free one. Oh gosh, guys in the chat, help me out. Who was the person that you can go on their website and get free? The girl that actually started all this. I think she's in Ireland. So I know somebody's in there can tell me the name of that person. I'll let everybody else know about it. But okay. All right, let me see what other questions we have here since I've kind of jumped around. Let's see. Let's see. Let's take a look. I'm reading. He sent me all these questions I could ask here. I'm stumbling around looking at them. All right. Let's see. We might have gotten through most of this, which I'm shocked. I didn't think we'd get through any of it. Let's see. You got here. What are life themes? Why would we ever choose to have seemingly devastating? You touched on that.
Yeah, just spoke to that. Yeah.
I degrade seemingly disrespect. Okay, we talked about that. You have how we talked about that. Okay. All right. I can't believe we have covered all this that you have on here. Did I miss anything? Did you see anything that I missed?
No, I don't think so. I mean, one thing I wanted to share as part of being, something important for this time is that people understand that they're, as I was saying in a different way a little bit earlier, that they're sovereign in their experience, and that life will present things to us that we've allowed to be presented to us, but how we manage it and how we deal with it will decide what the outcome of that is. So the trick for us is to try and have our consciousness focused inwards on our own heart energy, and to connect with who we really are, and live out of that energy. When we live out of our heart energy, what is around us that's seemingly negative, etc., can actually be transferred, because the reality of our heart energy will reflect back to us in the external reality we see around us. So things can actually be changed. We're multidimensional beings, and we are able to affect the world around us, our own world. You talked about a bubble before. We're consensus reality, but we're also within our own universe, and dealing with versions of others at the same time. It's hard when you talk about multidimensionality. It gets quite difficult to grasp. It's like nonlinear time and things like that. They're difficult concepts from our perspective as humans. But the main point being that if we live out of our heart energy and relate to everything by tapping into the truest version of who we are in our hearts, rather than all the stuff that has been dumped on us as belief systems and the like, that may clash with who we really are. That's where our greatest strength is, and that's where we get to create the best outcomes and have the best possible life.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Here's Gino has put up the name. Her name is Julie Velez, and she is the Galactic Astrology. That's what they call it, Galactic Astrology now. I'll call it astrology.
Interesting.
But anyway, she is actually out of Ireland. I think it's Ireland, and she's the one that started. So you might want to look it up, and you can even go on her website, and she has it where you can do the free chart, but then you're going to need somebody to interpret it. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so there you go.
I'm a bit. A lot of people are really interested in what star races that they have been part of, have incarnated into. But in a sense, it's that's interesting information. But I'm sort of a bit more just focused on as I was just saying a minute ago, being the best being I can in this environment, by trying to stay connected to my own heart energy. If I've had incarnations as an Arcturian or all these other things, it's interesting stuff, but it's not going to.
It's actually what you did in that lifetime. Also, it tells you about what you're doing, and it gives.
Yeah, well, that'd be good. Yeah,
it gives you a lot of details and some personality. I can't remember, it's been so long, but I like the fact, and it also talks about your family and affairs and things like that you've had on that planet. It goes into more detail than just where you're from or what you did, but it's kind of fun to look at. So
yeah, that's a good thing. If it's fun, it's great. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So all right, is there anything else, Mark? I mean, if there's nothing else, we can take some questions from the chat of what you talked about.
Yeah, sure. Questions would be good.
Okay, so anybody want to put in some questions for me and Mark? Just go ahead if you have any questions, and I'll talk about the shows again. Tuesday, Oil Painter, who's in the chat right now, Diana Bowles will be here, and we'll be doing all about aliens and astrology. And then on Wednesday, and that'll be at 1 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. And then Wednesday on the 7th, we'll do the Solaris Healing Center. And that also will be at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. And that's what we'll be doing next week. So, all right, let's see. Isabel, I wonder if we have been together at any time. If we have ever been together at any time. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Are you asking that, Isabel, more information? Are you talking to me or Mark about that? If we've been together?
I think I could offer something there. It may or may not be answering the question. But we travel when we actually participate in an incarnation cycle, like the Earth's cycle. We travel into that cycle as a collective being, and then we in a fractalized version we have individual lives, but we come in soul, what you'd call soul family groupings, and we plan our lives out. And so in that sense, if we are in contact, which we are right now, we have been together because it's been pre-organized, and both parties have agreed to become aware in this lifetime of each other. Sometimes the people we might marry in this life, that may have been it may have been your father in a different life, or you may have been the daughter of someone. But it's the same souls. It's the same soul interacting with itself in different versions. So in that sense, if we're aware of each other, then we've been together. Does that make sense? I hope.
Yeah, it does make sense. Well, I'm not sure, Isabel, if that's exactly the question. I don't see you in the chat. Oh, okay. Are we all like a family soul? Is what she's asking. Are we all like a family soul? Here we go. So she's wanting to know if we're all connected, basically.
We are. We're all actually you go high enough up, we're all the same being. But we experience ourselves. We incarnate into male bodies, female bodies. We become parents. We become children. We become people who affect our lives. We become the crazy guy who drove his car too fast and crashed into the side of us. All that kind of stuff. It's all planned. It's all pre-planned. It's all experience. And anything that, as I said earlier, anything negative that we may go through, it's when we go back into the non-physical. Anything there that happens that might affect our energy in a negative way in this life is washed away, and we're fully restored back to the truest version of ourselves that we can be.
Yeah, well, Isabella, to answer a little more, I'm not sure, but we do travel with our whole family, but we just quit switching positions in that family. I don't know if everybody on Earth is connected. I'm sure we are somehow or another, but you travel with your family. You have a certain group that you usually stay within, and that you just switch roles each incarnation. That makes sense.
Yeah, we have that's very true. We travel in the immediate sense with and incarnate with our family, but we're also part of a larger soul group, and above that we have an oversoul. And I was told that when we the incarnation cycle that I was in long ago that I mentioned earlier, that whole system collapsed. There was a supernova event, and that whole system collapsed, and all the souls that had built that place and were living in that part of the galaxy transferred as a collective and came to here. So the souls from that incarnation are the same souls that are working here now. That's as a collective. That's billions and billions of souls. But when you break it down, it comes down, and you have oversoul groups, and then you have within that a soul families, and then there's the individual expression, which is you and I. So we are all connected, but in terms of having relationship with everybody and being actively in relationship with everyone that is in our family, as Gail said, no, not. We're focused in on a particular experience, and all the others that we may have incarnated with before are not necessarily all involved in this incarnation with us.
Okay. But she says she's wondering because she says, I'm an adoptive mother. And Isabel, I'm not sure about that. There's a reason why you chose that child, or that child chose you. And it was written in your contract. So I'm not sure if that's a child that's going to have been with you all your life, or if y'all travel together. More likely, yes, but I wouldn't say it'd have to be necessarily that you just have to need the experience together. And you might be have adopted a starseed that you're supposed to be the mother that brings that child around and expose it to all these things. So that probably was written in your contract. So I hope that answers your question, Isabel. You have anything more to say to that, Mark?
No, I agree very, very much that that's what's going on. It's a relationship that you've decided to enter into. I don't use the word contract so much because it has got a legal connotation to it. Like, you could break your contract, you can be fined for not doing the terms of your contract. It's nothing like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I just use the word agreement. And the other thing is too that when we come here, we're not locked in to how we respond. As I said earlier, not locked into how we respond. Things will come to us and come into our experience that we're preordained to be here, but they're the learning experiences. That's why we came. And sometimes they're wonderful and fantastic things that uplift the soul, but other times they're very difficult things, as I was saying earlier. And the thing to remember is to reach out for help if something's difficult, not going well. We have guides, we have soul family, we have angelic energy, angelic beings who are all waiting to be invited to assist us. And the higher angelic realm will intervene of their own volition, more so than our direct angels, who mostly are there to protect us and guide us, but also are capable of acting on our behalf if we invoke it, if we ask them to do it. So you can you can become an army of one just in life, just by having these energies, these soul family in the non-physical beings, angels, guides. Invite them in to help you to get through whatever it is that you're facing, and you'll find that they will make a way for you, and things will happen that wouldn't have otherwise happened if you didn't ask them to help.
Yeah, she's going to need it because she says, "Thank you, I have 3."
Good luck.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Hey, Galactic Fire t-shirts. Who are my guides? Are they human, ET? What should I call them? Besides, yes, I know. And messages. That was pretty good. So all you're doing is connecting with them, and you're just saying, "Yes, I know," and then okay. All right, Mark, do you have anything about that? I'm not sure.
One thing I could add probably is the guides that are involved with us are specific to what we're experiencing life at certain parts of our life. So in my case, I had 5 or 6 hybrid fifth dimensional, this sound a bit odd, but fifth dimensional reptilian hybrids who were working as guides for me at one point in my life, going back probably 2 decades ago. And they were in my life in such a big way. They were coming all the time into the dream space. They were doing downloads, downloading information. They were doing DNA activation for myself, which was raising the vibration of my own DNA and opening up the more multidimensional aspects of my DNA. And they were reptilian hybrid beings, but they seemed to be active for probably around a decade, and then they completely disappeared out of my experience. And it's probably been more than a decade since then that I haven't seen them again. But what they did do was they helped me to understand. I remember I was looking at one of them one time, and I could always see them. They'd manifest in the astral space, and they would be sort of floating before me. I'd see their body shapes, but they always wore hoods, and this was to so that I didn't get fixated on the individuals of who they were. They wanted me not to be focused on that. But one time, eventually, I got to I went up to one, and was looking, and I was saying, "Do I know you from another life? Who are you? You're obviously helping me, but I don't remember why, and I don't know what I've agreed to do. And who are you?" And this one, the hood went back a bit, and I could see that it was they were all female, and the face. I looked at her face, and it started to change, and I was going, "Can we go back through some lives? I don't recognize who you are." And this being had a reptilian type bone structure, humanoid and reptilian combined, and she kept morphing images for me. I couldn't recognize any of them, but basically, yeah, that's just one type of guide. That if you've moved through a phase of your life where you're done with that experience for whatever reason, you may find newer guides have been assigned and working with you in a very different way to the previous ones.
Okay. All right. So while he's been talking, I've been getting some information. So you've got both. You've got a human guide who I think is your regular guide, and his name is Russell. And your ET guys right now, you have a tall white and two grays. Whenever I see the two tall white and two grays together, it's usually something about healing. So I'm not sure what you're going through, and they usually show up for healings. And so I have a feeling that's what they're there for, some type of healing. But your main guide is named Russell, and he is human, and it is a male. And he's telling me he's a hybrid. He's actually a hybrid. And let me see what type of hybrid he is. He's a Palladian human hybrid. Okay. So the message he's giving and is saying, loosen your grip. So I don't know what's going on with you, but he's showing me like you're holding on so tight, and he wants you to loosen it. And I know you're going through a lot trying to get your website up, but apparently they're wanting you to loosen up and loosen that grip and just let it happen. Just let it happen. So anyway, I think they're trying to say, go easy on yourself, Galactic Fire t-shirts. Just don't take it so seriously. Okay, it's going to happen. Okay. All right, there you go. I see you going ha in there. And thanks. So, okay, all right, next. Hey, Amy J, during meditation, an orb rode through with a person. I can identify what is the message, if any. So the person was inside the orb. I'm wondering if that's what I was like, the person inside the orb on that spaceship. So I would love to have seen that. So go ahead, Mark. Do you have anything for that?
I'm just trying to get my head around the question.
Okay, she just wants to know if there's a message from that orb. She saw the orb came through, and she's just wondering if there's a message. And the orb, she saw a human or a person in it.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not able to answer that. I'm not sure.
That's fine. This is I actually pulled a card for you from the from the Starseed Oracle deck, and this is absolutely my favorite card in here, and this is what they saying. MEJ, you're not for everyone. Show it. Okay, and this is my favorite card. It says, embrace your weirdness. Face your true north. It is absolutely my favorite card because all of us, especially the ones that are in here, we're all considered a little weird. Me, probably more than most, but I'm embracing it, and they're wanting you to embrace it. That what makes you different is what makes you special. So embrace your weirdness. You're not for everyone. Don't be a people pleaser. The people who don't understand you, come here. We will all understand what's going on. And so you have found your tribe. So there you go, MEJ. Embrace your weirdness. Okay, next. Hey, Gina, how big is our family we travel with? That varies because I know I travel with, well, actually I don't. Well, that's the multi way of answering that question. When I'm traveling light body, I travel with me and two others. When we incarnate with our family, I think it's whatever of our family group, whoever decides to take which role at what time, and the other ones stay behind. So that's just going to vary, Gina, on who needs the lesson and who wants to come to Earth and who doesn't. So that's a question I can't really pinpoint. Mark, you have anything on that?
Just yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. It's on the one level we have, as I was saying just a few minutes back, we have an extended in family, which is the guides and the angelic energies and all the rest of it, and they're always there. They're always present, and they're always available. If, as I was saying, if we choose to call on them, they can make a huge difference, make things happen that wouldn't have otherwise happened, that you want to see happen. But beyond that, there's also the issue that we are each souls that are part of a soul family, and it's just like it is on Earth. There's people that we're very close to, and there are people who are more like aunts and uncles, and there are people who are more like distant grandparents who've crossed over, that kind of thing. And another thing to remember is that when we're in the non-physical, or we are incarnate here, but most of our soul stays in the non-physical while we're here. So we can be here and having, wishing we had more family or have lost family, but we haven't really. They're all waiting on the other side of the veil, so to speak. And when we get there, we recognize everybody. The thing about the heavenly space is that it's a place. It's a telepathic place, and everyone's open and can be read by everybody else. But there's no judgment, so you can be yourself. And you may have had things that you're proud of, things that you're not proud of. It doesn't matter over there because everyone's got them. That's what you pick up. That's experience. That's what you come here to have. And sometimes you're the good guy, and sometimes you're the bad guy, and all the rest of it. But when you get back over there, you're totally accepted, and you're loved, and you're welcomed, and they're super excited to see you when you come back. And as I said, the greater part of you never really leaves, but the conscious part that you're focused in right now is here. And you do have an immediate, as I said, immediate family who love you very much, and extended family of people that are in your family group, but you may not have worked with particularly a lot because it wasn't required, because you weren't trying to create experience. You didn't need to create experiences with them. You're creating different experiences with someone else, but they're all family.
Okay, that's good. Okay, next. Hey, Janie, can you be in soul family and one of you ascend to a higher frequency and another not? I hope this makes sense. It does make sense, Janie. And that is a great question. Actually, I don't know the answer to that. Let me see if I can get my guys to answer to that. If one ascends, because I know the ETs ascend like that, so I'm sure we as human, well, we're just bodies. So what am I saying?
Do you want me to have a go at that? While you
I'm going to say
see what
yes,
you can channel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
The idea of
yeah, I got a yes anyway. So, but you go ahead. Yeah, it does make sense. And yes, go ahead. That one does go to higher frequency. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. We don't lose our connection with other members of our soul family ever. We can't lose it. It's not possible to lose our connections. But what we can do is we can make choices and choose to have to do things that cause us to vibrate in a frequency that is different. You could use the term higher, perhaps, sometimes lower, but basically that will cause a disconnect in the relationship to a certain point. But you still have the relationship. It's just that you're gonna be not connecting in the way that you would if you were both in the same place frequency wise. You'll have a different type of relationship, a different type of frequency. And the idea of ascension, well, we're currently we're in a physical third transition, fourth dimensional experience now. But when we actually cross over, when we die, it's similar to what happens when we go to the astral place, when we meditate, or when we're lucid dreaming. Our vibration lifts, so we leave the physical body, we go into the non-physical. Our vibration raises, and so in that sense, we ascend back into heaven. And then we come back here again, and we have other experiences. And also, it's not linear. We can come here and have an experience in 2023, and the next one we might choose to go back to 1612 because we've decided we want to see what it's like to be in medieval battles or something like that. So the idea of ascending, it's kind of what would you think ascension is? What do you think the purpose of it would be? And I've tried to sort of give my interpretation of that.
Okay, good. Okay, let's go to the next question. Hey, Inkar, do I work with a group helping the collective while I'm asleep? Okay. Do I? That's a group. Immediately I'm going to go yes. Oh, that's the big yes. Yes, you are, Inkar. You are helping the collective while you're asleep. I mean, that's a huge yes. Okay. You have anything to say, Mark?
Yeah, I'd say that I'm not sure if it's absolutely everybody, but I'd say almost everybody.
He's just asking her about her. Do I work with a group helping the collective while I'm sleeping?
Yeah, I was just making the point that all of us, when we go into the sleep state, we have the capacity to access the astral state and to work on projects and do other things that are not necessarily directly connected to the physical life we're living. So we're all, in a sense, helping the collective by participating and for example, the hybrid programs and things like that. If we're involved in those, that's one way we can do it. But everybody, the souls who like to come to a place like Earth, they're going to be active in those places as well.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Next question. Hey, Tina. Hi, Dr. Gail. Am I still on the Athena working in the kitchen? Thank you. Yes, you are. I don't know that, Tina. I don't know if they're going to ever be able to replace you because all you do is sit there and try to satisfy the humans, trying to cook for them. She has to go up and work on the spaceship, and she's in the kitchen working. But every time I go in there, she's going, I'm trying to make the humans happy, trying to make the humans happy, cooking away, trying to make stuff, because we're not that satisfied with the simulator that comes out with the food. And we want some good old home cooking, mainly me. Well, not all of us, but we're one of the sweets. And she's always there cooking. But Tina, you're going to be hard to replace. So you are still there. Okay, well, let's take one last question. Is there another question? Susie? Oh, that's it. Okay. All right. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for joining us. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. And thanks for my new subscribers, my old subscribers. Oh, and again, there's my next shows that Susie has put up there, Dinah Bowles on Tuesday and the Solaris Healing Center on Wednesday. So come join us then, and we'll see you later. Thanks again, Mark. And
thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.